This episode will be the final one on the simplistic stats as we start to ease into the more advanced stats. Specifically in this video, it'll be stats that mainly deal with what's important for a speedy player. We're going to start easy with stolen bases, caught stealing, and stolen base percentage, and that is something called sprint speed. Since there's only so much to cover in this video, not only will I be mentioning the good numbers for each category, but also explaining how the need for speed can vary amongst different positions. This may be one of the shorter videos, but as we prepare for the advanced stats, you should expect longer videos later. To start off, we ask the simplest questions like always. What even is a stolen base? The official definition from the MLB states that a stolen base occurs when a base runner advances by taking a base to which he isn't entitled. To dissect that, what the MLB means is that a player is able to steal the next bag provided that a hit did not occur, and there is nobody occupying the bag being pursued. For what constitutes a stolen base, the runner must reach the desired bag without being tagged out by the fielder at that base. To go along with this, if the ball is hit in play and he makes it to the bag, he only really made it there via the hit advancing him, therefore, not a stolen base. Also, a stolen base on a wild pitch or passed ball only counts if the base runner was attempting to steal beforehand. If a passed ball occurs and then the runner decides to steal the bag, that's more so advancing due to error. So of course, you should be able to piece together what caught stealing means. If the runner tries to steal the bag and the baseman tags him out before that happens, the runner is out. With the runner being out, the runner is given a caught stealing. Just like passed balls and wild pitches for stolen bases, a caught stealing is not given if the runner only advanced due to the mistake by the pitcher or the catcher. That's stolen bases and caught stealing, pretty easy. Also easy is stolen base percentage, which is simply calculated by taking stolen bases and dividing it by stolen base attempts. Mathematically, stolen base attempts are calculated by adding stolen bases and caught stealing, though that's not very a hard concept to understand. So let's just jump into good numbers for both stolen bases by itself and stolen base percentage. We do start off with stolen bases by itself, which has been a stat that's decreased in popularity as of recently. Gone are the days of Rickey Henderson, who stole 74 bases on average and 130 bases at his peak. In fact, in the last 2 years, the leader in stolen bases hasn't even reached above 50. Considering in the 90s where stolen base leaders were often in the 70 range, to have that drop down to 50s in the 2010s is kind of disappointing. With this decrease in stolen bases, it's really hard to really pinpoint what an average total would be. More and more are players dissuaded by stolen bases, so I guess even just reaching 10 is alright. Yup, 10. A total that is completely off Henderson's record 130 steals. Though, with that said, stolen bases on its own isn't even the best, of course. Sure, some guy could have stolen 50 bases, but have also been caught stealing 50 times. So what is a good stolen base percentage? A general rule of thumb is that a player is contributing if they have a stolen base percentage of 75%. Of course, treat this like your everyday marks at school. 75% is a good enough stolen base percentage, but if you want to be truly elite, get that to 90%. 100% is nearly impossible, but last year, Tim LaCastro did do it in 17 attempts. Now, as much as racking up stolen bases and having a high percentage is great, it's once again not everything. Having a high stolen base total means you're likely fast, but not necessarily the most efficient. Having a high stolen base percentage means you're likely efficient, but not always fast. It could be just that the runner is very good with choosing when to steal. Brett Gardner had a nice 83% stolen base percentage, but only took 10 bags. So how do we accurately measure speed? Baseball Savant has your answer in sprint speed. Sprint speed is calculated by feet per second, with the player running in their fastest 1 second window. Of course, this isn't a stat you'll see on the back of a baseball card, but instead something you'll see online. I'll link Baseball Savant down below. The league average on a competitive play is considered 27 feet per second. Some notable players that land in the average would be Jorge Soler, Brian Anderson, and Corey Seager, all players that have their specialties and other tools. Baseball Savant defines the specific range to be from 23 feet per second to 30 feet per second. Let's start off with the worst 3 runners in 2019, and I'll also be mentioning their positions. In order from worst to third worst, Brian McCann, 22.2 feet per second, catcher. Albert Pujols, 22.5 feet per second, first baseman. And then Yadier Molina, 22.8 feet per second, catcher. Catcher and first baseman are where low speed can be tolerated. For first baseman, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's considered the easiest position out of the 9 normal ones, as if you're able to make it to the bag to catch throws from your fielders, that's the bare minimum needed. Of course, there is first base strategy to help your team out defensively, but for the most part, first base defense is more of a luxury rather than a necessity. As for catcher, it's one of the most physically demanding positions in the game. Squatting behind home plate all game long is tough on the knees, and very rarely do you see catchers who are able to be mobile on the base paths. Sure, good defensive catchers are mobile behind the plate, but translating that to offense is often difficult. The vast majority of catchers and first basemen are below average runners, but they make up for this with their other skills. Now, onto the fastest runners according to sprint speed. From best to third best, Tim LeCastro 30.8 feet per second, outfield. Trey Turner 30.4 feet per second, shortstop. Byron Buxton 30.3 feet per second, outfield. These are players who all play positions that have one thing in common: the need for range. For an outfielder, it's easy to explain why having a good runner is necessary. This is the amount of ground that an outfielder has to cover, with a center fielder needing to cover the most. Byron Buxton plays center field, and Tim LeCastro plays all kinds of positions including center field, and even Trey Turner has played center field briefly in 2016. Then comes shortstop, which doesn't have to cover as much ground as the center fielder, but still needs top speed. In the outfield, you only need the speed to make it to balls and catch it. For a shortstop, you need the speed to not only make it to balls in play, but also to give yourself enough time to throw a runner out. As the majority of players are right-handed, the shortstop gets a majority of the plays, as the shortstop generally covers most of the infield's left side. As such, shortstops in the outfield have a majority of their players be above average in the sprint speed category. So what about the positions we left out in second base and third base? Well, those are more so your average positions in terms of speed. Good running can definitely benefit the fielder, but they can also get away with average or below average speed. For example, one of the best defensive players in league history is Nolan Arenado. He plays third base and has won 7 straight Gold Gloves to start off his career. He has a below average 25.9 sprint speed. Good defensive second basemen usually have better speed totals, like how both Colton Wong and Yolmer Sanchez were above average, but there are still players like DJ LeMahieu, however, who is very strong defensively yet has a slightly below average sprint speed of 26.7. Now, it's time for the final quiz question. This is Marlins catcher Jorge Alfaro. Statistically, he stole 4 bases and got caught 4 times, good for a 50% stolen base percentage. With this, he had a sprint speed of 28.8 feet per second. There are 2 questions to this quiz problem. Is Alfaro a good base stealer? And is Alfaro above average in the sprint speed category? As always, I'll heart the correct answers. Thanks for watching.